So what is up YouTube? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Apple. So I'm going to be talking about some current news surrounding the company, some future aspects of the company's business, whether the stock is a buy or not, and where the stock can be within the next 5 years. So obviously the news I'm talking about is Project Titan, which is basically where Apple's going to make its own cars. So Apple's car is expected to be called the iCar and it will be autonomous. It is also said that this car will have next level battery technology. So this project has had thousands of engineers working on it and it may have started in 2015. And this car is expected to release sometime in 2024 or 2025, meaning this project would have been worked on for over 10 years. So first let's talk about the quote-unquote next level battery technology. Before we talk about Apple's battery technology and its competitors' battery technology, what you have to understand is whichever company has the best battery technology, it will be worth hundreds of billions of dollars, because not only the company that owns the battery technology will use it, but it will outsource to different companies, as by 2035 almost all vehicles will be electric. So whichever battery is the best and has the best performance and is the cheapest, other companies will use it, which means the best battery technology will be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So the current leading EV company is Tesla, and they use lithium-ion cells as their batteries. And it does look like the next level battery technology will come in the next 4 or 5 years, and I think there are three main players, which are QuantumScape, Apple, and Tesla. And I know there are other companies coming up with this next level battery technology, but I think these three will be the most prominent. So on Battery Day, Tesla unveiled a lot about their future batteries. So these batteries will be divided into three tiers, which is iron-based cells, nickel manganese cells, and high nickel cells, which will be used for different vehicles that Tesla has. And they're also experimenting with a lot of different materials to advance their technology, but so far whatever technology they did unveil that will come out in 2023, it will be cheaper and more efficient, which is why they announced a $25,000 Tesla. So now let's talk about QuantumScape. QuantumScape recently became public on the stock market, and they're only a battery company, and they're actually backed by both Volkswagen and Bill Gates. And this company is worth around $40 billion, but they won't have any revenue until 2024, which means their technology might be very special. And they are actually making a solid-state lithium battery. But before we go into what Apple's doing, I do think Tesla's battery technology will be superior to QuantumScape, because if Tesla really did like QuantumScape's technology, they probably would have acquired it. So now let's talk about what Apple's planning to do in terms of battery technology. So as for Apple's battery technology, they're planning to use a monocell, and it will also be lithium iron phosphate instead of lithium ion, and this is less likely to overheat and could be a safer alternative to the lithium ion battery. Now in terms of who will have the best battery technology, I think it's too early to say, and we really don't have much information on Apple's battery. However, if you do want to invest in battery technology in a way, in terms of an investment, I would say Tesla is the safest. And if Apple's battery technology is the best out of three, that would add a lot of value to the company in terms of market cap and stock price. However, even if it does fail, I think Apple has so many forms of revenue and is extremely diversified that it could also be a great investment and safer one compared to a company like QuantumScape, which they might have superior technology, but at the end of the day, they do have a market cap of near $40 billion, but they won't have any revenue until 2024, and I think investing in them would be very risky, which is why I am not investing in QuantumScape. Now let's talk about Apple's autonomy technology. So autonomous driving will be huge in the future, and I think one particular segment of it is autonomous taxis. And when it does come to this technology, it does seem like the leaders of autonomous taxis are Tesla and Uber. But because Apple is a great company and it's the largest company in the world, and with the amount of cash they have, their technology might be great as well. And if they might partner with Uber, we really don't know, but if they do make a partnership or something, they could really compete with Tesla, and this market is worth hundreds of billions as well. Now with autonomous technology, this technology can be used for much more, and Tesla isn't actually using LiDAR systems, and there is news that Apple might, and they might not actually make their own LiDAR systems, but they'll use in other companies, which is why LiDAR companies are doing really well, like Luminar, because of speculations that Apple might use them in the future. And what you have to understand is a lot of what's going on with Apple's Project Titan is speculation, so nothing nothing is really confirmed. So I can't really say much on the topic based on factual information. However, I am going to make some predictions on what Apple will do to the EV market in the next 5 years. So the EV market is projected to reach 26 million units by 2030, and currently they're only around 3.2 million. So that means it'll be close to 10x in the next 10 years. And I think that means that these older legacy vehicle makers will transition into EV. It will be really hard to tell how Apple cars will sell because we don't even know what the price is. However, based on the clout that Apple has and how if a person likes Apple, they'll stick with Apple, I think it will give older legacy makers a run for its money, and it might force them into bankruptcy. However, I still think that Tesla will dominate the EV industry. But even if Apple can get a small market share, it will be great because the EV market won't just grow in the next 10 years, but it will continue to grow, and eventually it will be 80% of vehicles. And keep in mind that there are around 1 billion vehicles in the world. And in terms of electric vehicles, I don't think the Apple car will be the only thing for Apple. I think they might go into trucks or even delivery vehicles sometime in the future, but obviously not in the next 35 years, maybe in the next 7 or 8 years. But yeah, my conclusion to this news is that I think Tesla will continue to dominate, and if you are a Tesla shareholder, I don't think that you will have to be worried about this at all. But I do think if you are an owner of a legacy automaker and you plan on holding it for the next 5-10 years, then you might have to dig a little deeper and see what that particular company is doing to move into electrification. And realistically, I would see the Apple car release in like 2025 ending or 2026 because apparently the pandemic has pushed their plans. And it's actually kind of funny how Tesla wanted to sell themselves to Apple for 1/10 of the valuation it is today, but Apple declined, and now Apple is trying to compete with Tesla, and Tesla might eventually overtake Apple in terms of market cap. But nonetheless, I guess Tesla shareholders like me are happy it didn't happen, and it'll give more competition for Tesla, and Tesla always strives when there is more competition. So yeah, when it does come into the EV space, I do think Tesla will dominate. However, in 2025 or 26, Apple may be able to take up a small market share just because of their clout. So now let's talk about other future aspects of Apple. But I'm not going to be going too deep into the revenue because I did do that a few videos ago, and if you want to go check that out, you can. But in this video, I'm particularly going to look at the different businesses they do have and see where that could go in the next 5-10 years. So obviously, the Apple's main form of revenue is from their products, which is the iPhone, the iMac, the MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, etc. And the next segment is their wearable segment, which includes the AirPods and the Apple Watch. And they also have the other part of their business, which includes Apple Pay, Fitness Plus, Apple Card, Apple Music, Apple TV, Apple Arcade, Apple Games, etc. Now, I think both the wearables and services is where Apple's growth is going to be. Like, just compare some of Apple's services to other large corporations. Like, compare Apple TV to Netflix market cap. Now, obviously, I'm not saying Apple TV will be as big as Netflix or Apple Music will be as big as Spotify, but I do think they could be one of the larger players in both those industries. And you could do this with multiple companies, and again, they won't have the same value, or they won't have the same impact as the larger company. Like Apple TV won't have as many users as Netflix does, but it will give you a perspective of how Apple's business can grow. For example, Apple Fitness may not have as many users as Peloton, but people who do like Apple will probably prefer Apple Fitness over Peloton. So this is again just to give you a perspective. And another thing that I would like to see Apple do is, we know how Apple has Apple Pay, but they're not really expanding it. However, we see that companies like PayPal and Square are starting to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet so their users can use Bitcoin. And I'd like to see Apple maybe do that. And another huge growth potential for Apple is how they want to make a huge impact in the healthcare industry. So currently Apple does have the Apple Watch, which does have many health features. However, Apple does plan on doing more things. Like, we see how a company like Butterfly can turn your smartphone into an ultrasound scanner, and I'm not saying Apple will do the same thing, but I do think they will eventually make devices similar to this. And it also does look like Apple is going to slowly start transitioning into a subscription-based business model, as they are with Apple Arcade and Apple Music and Apple TV, which means they'll start getting more recurring revenue. And with the cash Apple has and seeing how cash flow positive they are, I definitely do think Apple will continue to invest into different ventures, which will only lead to future growth. And though Apple's revenue isn't really growing like a growth company, they are valued like one, and you have to understand why. First things first is Apple is like one of the safest companies out there for investors because they hear about it so often, and it's probably the most popular company in the world, and its brand value is probably the highest in the world. Another thing is investors are starting to see that Apple does have a lot of potential with their services like Apple Pay, and they're also going to start venturing into Apple glasses and stuff like that. So if you are looking into buying Apple today, yes, the valuation may seem a bit high considering it has a PE ratio of 30 plus when it usually does have PE ratio of around 17. But what you have to consider is a lot of the market is valued extremely high. Not only that, but right now revenues are growing at a slow rate, so it doesn't really justify its valuation. But with 5G coming and them expanding into different ventures and investing in their services like Apple Arcade and Apple TV, there will be growth, and I do think eventually Apple will start to justify its valuation, and I think it will start growing a lot faster in the next 3 years. So in the next 5 years, I can definitely see this company doubling in terms of stock price just because of their expansion in services. As we're starting to see that fintech will be the future, and fitness at home will also be very popular in the future, and Apple is doing things in both industries. And they also have much more going for them like Apple Arcade and Apple Music, and still their iPhones will be one of the most popular for phone brands in the world. So I think if you don't own Apple, definitely look into it because it does have tons of potential. Yes, it won't be a 10x like some of these other companies, but it's one of the safer stocks on the stock market, and a 2x in the next 3 to 5 years is always a great return. And if you already do own Apple, just consider holding it because I do think the stock price will continue to grow as it has done in the past. And when the stock market crashes, and though it doesn't look like it will anytime soon, but when it does, these high growth stocks will be the ones to crash hard. And Apple's one of the safer ones, so yes, it might dip, but it won't crash as hard as these other growth stocks. So I think holding a value stock or a value growth dividend stock like Apple is always great for your portfolio. And to be honest, investing in Apple is diversifying itself because Apple is in so many industries like mentioned before. And what I want to say about Tesla is also a great business, and I'm bullish on both Apple and Tesla, and I think you should consider buying or holding both companies. Just do your own research. And these are just my thoughts on Apple. If you guys did enjoy the video, please do leave a like and subscribe. Also comment down below what you guys think of Apple, and thank you.